Louise Moises is an award-winning Northern California poet, antiquarian bookseller, and performance artist. Her poems have appeared in numerous journals, both online and in print, including High Shelf Press, the California Quarterly, Wingless Dreamer, the Avocet, the Right Launch, Ariel, Suisun Valley Review, Tiny Seed, and others. The poem Peace Is was a grand prize winner in the dancing poetry contest. It was also the inspiration for Louise's chapbook Peace is a Pelican, available from Finishing Line Press. Louise enjoys traveling solo with her cat in her RV, crossing the country to visit family and friends. Her experiences frequently become poems. Please welcome Louise Moises.
Thank you, Sandy, for that lovely introduction. And thank you to Shauna and Monica and Sandy for inviting me. I'm honored to be on the same program as Diane Frank, and I admire her work greatly and the fact that she has published so many wonderful books. I have published one, and it appeared 1 week before I turned 80. So there's hope for all of us. Um, as it said in my biography, I travel solo in my RV, but before that, I traveled with my husband. And this first poem is inspired by him and our travel together. Arroyos. In this parched Utah landscape, horses travel in arroyos. On silent hoofs, move towards water. A sturdy white mare guides her foal. Her faithful herd follows. Through dry washes, they run towards the spring, neighing at the sky. I have hidden my love for you in a deep arroyo when I should have sent it running with the horses. At first, too cautious, too fearful of another loss. Before you came, my landscape, parched and arid, like the land of central Utah. You guided me towards sustaining springs. Together, we watched the horses drink, followed them as they disappeared into the arroyos. They left only dust rising above the desert ditches. The sun vanished behind the rolling hills, the stars reflected in the spring. Somewhere beyond the arroyos, the horses hid in protective herds, slept standing up as horses do, while you and I lay beneath the midnight sky in the deep arroyos of each other's arms. I dreamt of horses at the spring and yielded to the icy waters. I'm now moving on to my solo journey, a night at the rest stop. In my 79th year, except for the companionship of my cat, I travel solo in my 23-foot RV, crisscrossing the country to visit family. In the passenger seat, my husband, a phantom of him, who journeys on another plane. Each mile we converse. I describe the scenery, recall the days when he could answer. At dusk, I look for a place to spend the night. Tonight I'm in Kansas, a secure and spacious rest stop surrounded by trees, populated by trucks, cars, and other motorhomes. On this heated night, I crawl into my narrow corner bed, draw only the sheet over my body. The hum of semi-generators lulls me to sleep, and I dream. A dream invaded by pounding, loud and insistent, Fully awake, I click on my phone. 1 a.m., the pounding continues. It's on my motorhome door. Traveling solo has its risks. Grady cat stares at the vibrating door, his body tense, ears rotating. He dances from side to side, sniffing the air. I whisper to him, "What should we do?" What would my husband have done, I wonder? I move to the window adjacent to the door. A young woman looks up at me, stops pounding, mouths something. I cannot understand. My hearing aids on the charger. I shake my head in denial and lower the blinds, my heart pounding like the concussion on the door. I hold my breath. All is quiet, save for the diesel generators. I worry about the woman. I worry about my safety. I climb back in bed, stare at the light dancing on the ceiling as it seeps through the overhead vent. I lie there, inventing various scenarios. Maybe she's a kidnap victim, lost, confused, hungry, alone. Or perhaps it's a trap, trying to get someone to open a door. If she's truly in danger, there are other people at the parking area filled with vehicles. Mystery unsolved. I toss and turn and ask my absent husband to hold me, protect me as he promised to do. Gradually, I fall back to sleep. There is no more pounding. This summer, I was grateful to pass through the Grand Canyon 3 times. So these are a couple of poems from the Grand Canyon experience. Incident at the Grand Canyon. Sitting on a stone bench beneath an old juniper on the south rim of the canyon, putting pen to paper, composing a poem, a woman approaches, badge on a lanyard. "Sorry to bother you. I'm a guide here on my break. I'm going to have a smoke. Please let me know if it bothers you and I'll move." I assure her it will be fine. She moves off. Smoke rises. When she's done, she returns. We exchange pleasantries. I tell her I'm a solo traveler with cat, indicate my RV parked nearby. "Travel safely," she says as she departs. Next turnout, there she is, leaning against her tour bus, waiting for her clients to return from the edge. We begin to chat. "My husband died 8 years ago," I tell her. We talk of family, loss, and mourning. She shares the story of her grandmother's slow dying. She cries. I touch her shoulder. We talk about love. Some people don't understand. Love can blossom in a moment or live forever. Her clients appear at the end of the parking lot, heading this way. "Time for me to get back to work," she smiles. As she turns to go, she says, "I love you." I reply, "I love you too." I never saw her again. I don't even know her name. And this is another experience from the canyon. Ravens, they rise above the deep canyon. They rise, they swoop, they glide, they rise. They flap and flutter, playing on thermals. Wings open, then close, legs dangle, then tuck. They rise Ariel game of tag, wingtips touch, ravens, crackling voices bounce off of rock walls. They dive, talons tangle, obsidian wings flash in late afternoon light. Ravens, 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 like slick black kites broken free from their strings. My ultimate destination when I'm traveling across country is New Jersey. And at that visiting time, they took me to the Jersey Shore, and this poem is the result. Summer sunrise. Bright ball of sun rises from the ocean. Father and son cast angled shadows on the sand. One tall, one short. Father with fishing pole casts a line into the surf. Child with bucket races to pick up shells that roll back and forth with the waves. The boy runs to his father to show off his treasures, then plants his bucket next to the tackle box. He reaches for his father's hand, face turned upward. What difficult questions does he ask? The father lays aside his pole, rolls up his pant legs, lunges playfully for his son and misses. The two chase each other in and out of the surf, laughing, their laughter raising over the crashing waves like the chattering circle of gulls. Taste of salt on their tongues, scent of sea on their damp hair. White foam laps their ankles. At last, the boy is caught in his father's arms. Time for breakfast, says the father. Mother's waiting. With tackle box and bucket, the two walk hand in hand up the warming sand. Now I'd like to turn to my chapbook. Peace is a Pelican. Read a few poems from there. Perhaps the dove. Perhaps the dove meant nothing. A lone bird lost between the light reflecting windows of high rises and sheltering green trees. Her wings a flash of white among a flock of slate gray pigeons. I stood by the window in the hospital room where he dozed, linked to life by wires and tubes. I listened for his voice. Perhaps the dove was just a bird passing through morning air with no more significance than blackbirds on the wire or the mewing, circling gulls. His still face refused to awaken. Oxygen hissed into nostrils, fluid steadily dripping into his failing body. Vile machine blipped with false hope. Perhaps the dove appeared by accident, me standing there in unexpected circumstances, looking at the sun rising over rolling hills, exhausted after a week of sleepless nights. I shook him mercilessly, laid my body beside him, pinched the loose skin on his bruised hand. Nothing except the steady hiss. Perhaps the dove did not flutter a message. Impossible to hear the sound of wings through thick tempered glass. As I stared into the empty air, the dove flew by the window, rose into the clouds, and disappeared. Omen. The day after I scattered your ashes beneath our thorny rose bushes, an osprey appeared, your favorite bird, circling the house. Never before or since, you watching over me like you always did, with your wide outspread wings. And I'd like to conclude with the final poem, um, Peace Is, that also inspired Peace is a Pelican. Peace is. Peace is a sunset seen through a veil of fog, lacy waves lapping sandy shore, alone with the tide, salty fragrance of the sea, listening to the mantra of crash and recede on into infinity. Peace is a pelican framed against an aqua sky, soaring along the shore, unaware of wars, winging above waves, a prehistoric vision. Would that I could fly on the wings of a pelican. Peace is the discovery of an ancient oak, gnarled, bent, enduring, an elder with stories to tell. Listen, snap of twigs, crack of branches, rustle of grasses around depths of roots, a history. Peace is a small girl on a big horse rounding a barrel in a dusty rodeo arena, a crowd of friends, family, perfect strangers, all cheering, unity of the moment, the many as one. Peace is being alone with a waterfall, chill splash of rushing, roaring water, fragrance of pine, swoop of swallows singing, standing beneath a cascading curtain of water. Peace is witnessing a birth of monarchs, from cracked chrysalises, wet stained glass wings struggling to open and close, thin black legs clinging to feathery fronds of milkweed. Peace is a prayer whispered in shadows, a large clanging bell, angle of ceiling, scent of incense, flicker of candles. Peace is finding a church in your heart. Peace is a solitary figure in a high desert landscape, scent of heated sage, sky as large as it can ever be, a rocky line where earth meets clouds, then a simple gesture, a wave of love. Thank you.